Hey everybody, this is Ricky. Here, I'll give myself a few seconds. Hey everybody, this is Ricky. I am interviewing somebody today that I don't know how long I've known him. That's pretty common with some of these, but I think it's probably been over a decade at this point. He's responsible for my current day job, directly responsible for that, and we played video games, well not video games, but board games together, and hung out, and he's been to almost every RocketCon. But I'm going to bring my friend Adam Gecking on. So Adam, if you want to come in. Adrian's going to applaud. There he is, studio applause. So this is Adam. Adam, do you remember how we met?
Not exactly.
Okay.
I mean, I think the first time I spoke to you was maybe at one of the Death of False Hopes.
All right.
Maybe not. I don't know.
That's good because I honestly don't remember when I met you. You just appeared in my life at some point, and we knew each other.
I remember when you first moved to Richmond.
Yeah, I remember that too.
With your old house.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was 6 years ago? 7 years ago. So I've known you over a decade, I feel comfortable saying.
Oh, great.
But, so this is Adam, and we're going to do 10 good minutes. It ends up being a little bit more than 10 minutes, but I'm going to ask you some scripted questions, then we'll just have a conversation. And then we're going to do our top 10 Switch games. Adrian she's bringing me my libations to keep my throat from drying out. Thank you.
All of the wine.
Yeah, all the wine. I'm having communal wine here.
It is Sunday.
It's Palm Sunday.
Ooh, perfect. And this, normally you're supposed to get your interviewee drinking, right? That's going to be hard to do. Do you want some water?
I'll take some water. I didn't even think about that.
All right.
Regular water or fizzy water?
Regular, please.
Ice.
All right.
Oh, no thank you. No ice.
All right. So, now that we've got the frivolities out of the way, Adam, what's your tagline? Give yourself 10 words or less. Tell me who you are in 10 words or less.
He, him, I run a record label and
All right.
rescue cats.
All right. I don't know if that was 10 words, but it was close enough.
That was 7 words. You got 3 to go.
Well, no, it's good. You can just come in.
I don't want to walk across the camera.
That's fair. I appreciate that. All right. Do you like board games?
I do.
I spoiled that a little earlier on. So, what's your favorite board game?
Ooh, that's tough. I like cheesy board games or really simple ones sometimes.
Okay.
So I guess not board games, but I really like Love Letter.
Oh, Love Letter's great.
Yeah, it's
great.
simple, and it's one of the few games that my wife and I can agree on. That it's easy to teach somebody. It's really fast.
Yeah, and it's fun.
Exactly.
We had a cabin getaway with it was me and Adrian and Connor and Amanda and Jamil. And Jamil's new girlfriend. So you knew all but one of those people, and we played a lot of Love Letter there. It was just because it's easy, right? And plays a lot of people, and it's fun. So that's a good. All right, Love Letter's a good choice.
Yeah, we have a Batman Love Letter at our house.
Oh, you know that's out of print, right?
No.
It's I think it's still out of print. That's very valuable. It was over $100 for that.
Oh,
Yeah. So you're sitting on a gold mine, maybe. If you ever wanted to unload Batman Love Letter, you could, trade it in for a local second Charles. Don't do that.
or eBay.
Yeah. So how did you come into my life? What is your recollection of how you came into my life?
I was thinking music-related stuff.
Yeah.
So my guess would be Death of False Hope, but that would be
What were you doing there?
selling things.
Alright, so what was your, because I was playing, and you were selling. What were you selling?
Oh, I make records, CDs, skateboards, and all kinds of dumb things.
Oh.
I run Say-10 Records.
How did you get into that?
Oh, honestly, I used to run a different record label that I started when I was 18, and that went out of business because I got screwed over by a distributor. And so when I was owning a record store, I swore off ever putting out records again. I would never do this thing. So it was like 2003. I was like, I'm fucking done.
Yeah.
I'm never gonna put out a record or a CD or anything like this again. And then 2007, I think it was 2006, 2007, the right before I played my store.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, these guys are amazing.
They were.
And no one was putting out their music physically, and I was like, fine, I guess I'm gonna have to do this again, and then picked it up again.
It was that that was the thing we put out before Fistbury and Pockets, right?
The very first thing I did for them was a split with them and Broadway Falls.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
Fistbury and Pockets came out as my third release.
All right. What was your second release?
GDP, the hip hop guy.
Oh, okay.
He toured
Okay.
with Dirty Money, or what did he choose?
The Spanish Cannibal. Yeah. Wow. That's a relic of punk rock past there. Some Spanish Cannibal and you were knee deep in Ordcore, I guess, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, all those bands played in my record store.
Okay. What was your record store?
It was called Volume. It was in Virginia Beach.
Okay.
If you ever get bored on YouTube, you can search videos live at Volume.
All right.
And find a bunch of random ones, like All Time Low playing in my record store, Anti-Flag playing in my record store, or Bayside, or like the band Mayday Parade.
I remember them as well.
Yeah, a bunch of like when they were coming through town, I would get a hold of the record label or their managers and be like, hey, we could do an in-store, and they would always do it. So, like we did one for Under Oath. We did this big signing for them, and then a little bit of everything.
So Adam and I, Adam got me a job at Second and Charles, which is where I worked. You also had Guar, right? Were you the GM in that? You weren't the GM
No,
in that.
it was before I started at Second and Charles. I heard about it. I heard it was amazing.
Yeah, what a bummer, right? Neither one of us was there for something that we both should have been.
Would have been awesome.
It would have. It would have. So now you're 10 years into the label, more than that.
Oh, I think I did 15 now.
15 years. What's your journey been like going from putting out right before anybody knew who they were to where you are now? What's that been like?
Well, first it started, it was kind of slow, and then right before it did really well, and then I closed the record store that I had because the economy tanked in 2008.
Yep.
So at the end of 2008, I closed it, and that year I only did like 1 or 2 releases, and then now I'm up to like 18 albums coming out this year.
Wow.
So it's a big change.
It is.
It's basically just depends on the times, but the last couple of years it's been pretty steady and pretty solid, so I have no complaints at all at the moment.
What would you say has been your favorite album to put out? Not necessarily your biggest one, but the one you had the most fun putting out.
Honestly, the one I tell everyone to check out is Stormy Blue by Choke Up.
Okay, that's a great album.
It's just very solid, it's front to back.
Yeah.
And then for singles, I tell everyone to check out the band Let It Go. The album's called Modern Alice, which is a 7-inch.
Okay.
But it sounds like Lifetime meets Hot Water music.
Okay. So like Damien, right? Damien's.
No, he loved them.
Yeah, that sounds like that's something he would love. Well, now I guess you've moved into you got Will Wood, right? That's your big signing, right? Signing. I don't. Do you do contracts or are you just?
I mean, I do like deal memos. And stuff
Okay.
like that. I mean, but I also put everything I do that the bands can walk away at any time, as long like if I have expenses, all they have to do is buy me out, and then I'll give them everything. We're done. Because I don't want anyone to feel like they're stuck.
Yeah, yeah. What would you say? Because the independent landscape, right, has drastically changed.
100%.
Even in the time you've been doing this, what's the biggest change for you?
So okay, I'll go back to just a precursor. The old record label I used to run was called VMS Records.
Mhm.
I put out a band called No Cash in 2003, which kind of sounded like a choking victim worship band.
Okay.
And we sold 12,000 copies of a CD the first year it came out.
Wow.
And that was good, but not like as
Yeah,
good as it could have
sure.
been. But now it's like
That would have gotten you on the Billboard Top 100 right now.
100%.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. It's
yeah.
like, so the difference is like then versus now. If you sell 1,000 copies of something in a year, you feel like you're succeeding.
Yeah.
Whereas opposed to then, it was like if you sold 500 copies, you're like, why is this band not doing anything?
Yeah. Yeah. And on that, because I think a lot of people don't, they know about the artist side, they know about big time labels, but how have you seen streaming, Bandcamp, all that? What kind of impact has that had for you?
I mean, honestly, okay, so when I first started the record label, I was kind of against digital downloads, like as a thing, where I thought people would want physical medium and they would like flock to it still, and it was just me being outdated and having a giant misconception. And so I was very slow to pick up on doing all that stuff, where I mean, now all my stuff's on Spotify and iTunes, all that,
Yeah.
Apple Music or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's just like at first I was like, no, this is stupid. No one should do that. And I was like, so then I went on this weird excursion for a while where I still do it, like almost everything on my website is free to download.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that we can all realize that people are going to get it if they want
Yeah.
it. So
Might as well make it accessible.
exactly, and it makes
Yeah.
it so you can get like an actual download instead of getting some kind of junk files and a virus.
Yeah, we don't need a BitTorrent. You can just download it for free. Yeah.
Exactly, no Napsters either.
Yeah, it was weird, being on the band side, right? Having the ability to just put your music out there, revolution. I guess when I was in a band, it made it so that you could go on tour in places because people knew who you were because they could download your album for free. I don't know that it helped us sell the music, but it definitely helped us get out into new places.
Yeah, help people hear the music.
So how do you pick? This is the band I want to put it out. Like, how does that work for you?
Well, lately, okay, so I'm doing an album for Sarah and the Safe Word. I'm doing a reissue of their first album,
Okay.
and I'm doing Sarah's solo project. And Sarah's great, and she's been basically, for lack of a better term, quote unquote, my A&R person.
Okay.
Where basically she's helped me sign like 6 bands I'm working with. right now.
Wow.
And yeah, so she has a really good taste in music, and her and I get along amazingly. So it's just if she likes something and says they're good people, I've been picking a lot of them up.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I use Spotify as A&R actually.
Yeah,
all the time.
okay.
It's
Yeah.
like, hey, if you like this, you like this, and then more often than not, I'm like, yeah, I like this.
I do like this Spotify. Yeah, that's actually funny. That's how I find new bands to listen to too. Is I'll just be listening to Spotify and then it'll go to the radio, artist radio.
Yeah.
And it's like nope. Oh,
Yeah.
this is really good. Where did this come from?
Yeah, then you go and listen to the album, and you're like, oh wait, no, this isn't good. Oh wait, no, this is great. Like, just
Yeah. It's cool. It's weird too because sometimes you'll hit it and you'll be it was just that one song, and then other times wow, they're really good. Oh. Adrian was adding applause for my sentence there. Thank you. What are you doing? I'm so glad we get to keep this in. You're gonna get us taken down for copyright infringement. Well, I think I already know the answer to this, but what's one band you wish you had signed that you didn't?
see, honestly, the last couple of years has been the Muslims.
Yeah, I figured that local band, right?
Yeah, North Carolina.
Yeah.
I-
Localish.
Yeah, I was messaging them for a while, and I loved their band, and I totally understand why they didn't, because now they're on Epitaph.
Yeah.
But I was bugging them for a minute to try to help them put out the records, because they're so good.
They are, and it's wild that North Carolina doesn't really have a burgeoning punk scene so much as just pockets of bands that pop up. So it's wild that something from my home state has blown up like that, and they're very cool. So that was the professional talk. We got that out of the way. So let's talk about the fun stuff. So you're a collector.
I collect a lot of things.
What do you collect?
Okay, I collect records.
Yes.
I collect some skateboards, mostly because I make skateboards,
Mhm.
so I have them now.
But you don't skateboard, right?
Not anymore. I used to
Okay.
more than I do.
Yeah.
Now I'm just old.
Yeah.
It's like, don't
Yeah.
skateboard after 40.
No, I'm not. I believe my wife told me I am explicitly forbidden from stepping on a skateboard.
You can step as long as it does not move.
That's actually more dangerous.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know how you can step on it without it moving.
Yeah.
But we'll leave that for we'll table that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, records, skateboards, a lot of retro video game stuff, comic books, Legos, mannequins. I think that's about it. But there's
Mannequins.
I mean, collecting is a strong word. I just have a bunch.
Okay.
And I like to dress them in things because I do collect clothes to a degree.
Okay.
And usually bags. I like bags a lot.
Yes. So you had so many records. What happened? Like, tell this story. This is a very Adam Gecking story.
Okay, so it's mostly record label stuff that did it. So that's
Sure. It was professional.
We'll take a step back from the professional side.
Yeah.
But so the record label, the office is upstairs in our house, and I loaded up the house. So it was like pallets of would be pallets of records,
Yeah.
would be pallets of skateboards,
Yeah.
and all of the stuff was on the second floor of a house that was not designed
To house records, that many records.
Yeah, like it was just a little bit heavy, we'll
Yeah.
say, and so yeah, so many years ago it broke into our dining room a little bit and started with the floor. I guess the ceiling was sinking. The floor upstairs is still a little off, but it's been we reframed the whole house because I broke it with records.
Yeah, I think you are the first person I've ever met. That sounds like something you would see on like Florida Man. He broke his house with records.
Hoarding.
Yeah. And it was just such a you story. You're the only person I know that would happen to, and I would immediately go, yeah, that makes sense. How does your wife deal with all of your collecting?
Well, the same way she deals with the record label, really. Her and I like different things, which is good for us because we
Yes.
have different passions, different hobbies, different pet projects. and
Other
stuff.
than Disney, right?
Well, I mean, that's still more her than Disney.
Yeah.
Like, I like Disney for what it is,
Okay.
but like if I didn't go to Disney anytime soon or ever
Sure.
again, I would not cry.
Sure.
Where she would want to go every day if she could. And
Yeah.
like if we could move to Orlando, she would. But no, so
Don't move to Orlando.
no, it's in Florida.
Yeah.
They're weird.
Yeah. Then you could really be Florida, man.
So, but the best thing she ever said is when talking about the record label. It was probably like 6 months after I met her, and I almost made it into a shirt because it was just so apt and so just appropriate. Where she was like it was actually at Death of False Hope,
Oh.
the one she came to with me, and she was like, you know, I don't hate you, I just hate everything you love. and it. And
Wow.
and I almost made that into a shirt. So
Yeah.
I thought it would have been really funny to wear.
Yeah. Yeah. I could absolutely hear her saying that.
Yeah. I mean, she did.
Yeah, that's such a Taylor statement. She's got her own collecting, though, right?
She likes Funko Pops. She likes sewing stuff. So it's like, she has a giant collection of things for sewing. She has
Yeah.
like a serger, I think she has her third sewing machine now. A bunch of like random things that she makes. Like she likes to hobby things and collect, like
Okay.
build things. But it's like that's kind of her biggest hobby right now. But it goes back and forth.
What about the McDonald's house?
Oh yeah, I mean okay. How did I forget about that?
Yeah, I was gonna say she's got her very own unique collecting.
So the entire when you walk into our house, it was misportrayed in the article that was written.
Of
about it.
course, well, journalists.
Yeah. So basically, a whole stairwell / wall of our house is dedicated to McDonald's.
Yeah.
Which is funny because I have not eaten at McDonald's since the 90s. I think.
Why would you? There's literally nothing for you there.
Yeah, I mean, even their French fries have meat in them.
Yes.
So, and when I learned that, it's in the 90s. And I was
Yeah.
like, well, I haven't done with these, I guess. But yeah, no, she doesn't go to McDonald's often. She's not like she loves McDonald's. It has a fond nostalgia.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
kitschy aspect of McDonald's.
Well, I mean, their ads and their imagery were really interesting for branding.
Sure. Well, they ripped off HR Puff and stuff, right? For the like all that land of McDonald's stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Got Sid and Marty Krofft. That's who it was, right? Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely very drug fueled. It feels right.
Yeah. It's like the Hamburglar. And,
Yeah.
And did you see recently that they McDonald's decided that Grimace is a taste bud? Because originally he was an upside down milkshake.
Yeah.
Somehow purple.
Yeah.
But like now he's a taste bud.
Well, I mean, it makes sense that their upside down milkshakes are purple because it's the mold that grows in them because they never work.
Yeah, you can't drink them anyway.
Yeah. That I just remember. So, for those of you that don't know, Adam was featured. His house was featured in Metro, right?
It was Metro. It was I think New York Times picked it up or one of those like big.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean Taylor's made some decent money off that article actually.
Oh, wow. How did she monetize that?
So what happens in a situation like that is there's an Australian writer who reached out to her about writing an article about it after she posted something on the internet. The writer was stoked, basically wrote this whole article, had us send pictures, and basically posted it up for other people to take.
Okay.
And so then Metro, New York Post, and all those places bought the article. And so the way that it works with that stuff is if you do it and you go through this company or whatever, every time it's featured, Taylor gets like a couple dollars.
Wow.
And so I think she ended up making like $700 or $800,
Wow.
which is way more than we ever expected.
Yeah. Did it pay for creating the wall yet, or are you still losing money on it?
Well, I mean, none of that was expensive. I mean,
Okay.
the most
yeah.
expensive part was probably the giant golden arches we have,
Okay.
and those were like $100.
I will make sure that I find some way to incorporate that photo into this.
And I can go home and take a picture.
Yeah, I won't. You won't make any money off of it. If there's anything with me and art, you can be sure that there will be a money losing venture.
So what you're saying is you are a very good capitalist.
The best. So one of the other things that you do collect that we have a mutual interest in, and I think you give me a hard time about, is retro video games. So what is your collection? I guess because that would be the thing most interesting.
So it's pretty much every Nintendo system. So that, I mean, except for the Virtual Boys, that's the only one I don't have. But I need to get one of those eventually. But I do everything. I've been getting more of the weird retro ones. So it's like the 3DO and the CDI, which are both disc-based ones that didn't last long.
Yeah. Because they were so expensive back then.
100%.
Yeah.
Philips was super expensive back in the day, and for that one, it also has the only games. Like I have one of the Zelda games, and I have Hotel Mario, which are like the only
Non-Nintendo. Yeah.
Exactly. So there's still 2 other Zelda games, but they're so expensive right now. So I'm not gonna get those anytime soon. But yeah, so it's like I like to get all the weird ones. I like to get the ones that are like 16-bit. So it's like, but it's like the 16-bit ones. So I like the Turbo Graphics. I like the Super
Bonk's
Nintendo.
Bonk's Adventure, right? That was Turbo Graphics.
There's 3 for Super Turbo. Is Bonk's Adventure, Bonk's Revenge, Bonk's something. But yeah.
Okay.
But basically, yeah. So there's Bonk was their Mario.
Yeah.
And Turbo was the cool one because they did the handheld games, or the handheld played with games, the same ones with the system.
Yeah. I remember that. And of course, no battery life, right?
Oh, no.
That's like, we see Nomads every now and then at work, and I'm always like, that's really cool, but it's got like an hour-long battery life, and it takes 6 batteries. We're so spoiled these days.
Yeah, it doesn't have a rechargeable battery. Like,
yeah, and what are these graphics? I can get better graphics. Emulating on my phone is better than that, but there is something cool about owning them.
None of them are pretty pricey right now.
Yeah. Which is wild, right? To think about. We carry around something that can emulate in our pockets better than that. And so what about owning the classic? What appeals to you about that?
I mean, it just kind of like, okay, I grew up super poor, pretty fucking poor, and I never had this stuff as a kid. So a lot of it is honestly just recapturing shit that I could never have or never afford when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's like nothing. When I was a kid, it was like I had a Nintendo, but I got it pretty much when everyone was getting a Super Nintendo. I got a Nintendo. Yeah. And then eventually, when everyone was getting N64s, I upgraded to a Super Nintendo because we got one at a yard sale. But at that point in time, we gave my Nintendo to my younger cousins because they were in the same boat we were in. Where we were all poor.
Yeah.
And so it was like, and I was super mad at my mom at the time, so I was like, why are you giving away my shit?
Yeah.
But life.
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of weird, but it's like, so basically the long and the short of it is I have a little bit more money than I used to, and thankfully. And I have the privilege where I can go ahead and act like a child anytime I want.
Yeah. That is one of the things that's cool about being an adult. It's like, oh, I like this cool thing. I can own it.
I would say one step further, it's one of the best things about not having children. And I mean,
I mean, yeah. I have nephews and a niece, and what's really cool is I get to my nephews were here and we watched Stand By Me and The Sandlot, and we played board games and hung out, and it was cool because I got to introduce them to, stuff from our childhood.
Yeah.
That they didn't get to experience, and but then I get to give them back.
Well, no, I have a niece. She's great. So
Yeah.
It's not like I'm not.
Nothing against children.
Nothing against children.
No, I'm with
it's
you.
It's just a matter of like, okay, if I have a child, I have an expense.
Yes, a very expensive expense.
Yeah, it's like, so it's one of those things. It's like I can either pay for this expense or I can buy all the things I want.
Yeah. It's funny. I think Adrian and I had that conversation too very early on, and you're right. I couldn't afford the life that I lead with a child.
No, you couldn't travel for work like you
No,
do. Or...
no. So yeah, I agree with you. Sure, that'll get me. The hordes of board gamers are gonna hate me for saying that. 'Cause-
Circle slash.
Yeah,
games.
but I'm glad they have children, so
Yeah.
I don't have to. Oh,
Somebody has to do it.
yes, it's just not us. So what's your favorite? Like, what's the thing that you got that you're most excited about in this video game collection?
Well, okay, so that changes every day.
Okay.
Because I also buy a ton of stuff and I like look stuff up on the internet and I really nerd out about this stuff.
Yeah.
So right now, I haven't even played it yet.
Okay.
But right now there's a newer system called the Evercade.
I've never even heard of that.
It's a cartridge-based system,
Oh boy.
which I was stoked on.
Yeah, of course.
And it's cartridge-based, and it's mostly nostalgia, like ROM games almost.
Okay.
So it's like one of the discs, or what? Not even disc. One of the little cartridges has like Earthworm Jim and a bunch of other games on it, and so it's mostly 16-bit graphics.
Okay.
Or
Yeah.
give or take.
Yeah.
You can play Atari games on it and stuff
Okay.
like that as well. But so it's like that kind of era, but they're things that are out now, and the games are normally like $20 each.
Okay.
So it's really affordable.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool, and
Huh.
yeah, my new goal is to get all those games.
Okay. Okay. Have you gotten any of them?
Yes, I have a small selection of them.
What do you have right now?
My favorite one is I bought one of the Pico ones, which
Okay.
Pico took over the Wisdom Tree game line, which
Okay.
Wisdom Tree made all the Christian games back in the
yeah.
day. And so it has some of those on there, but they also now Pico also makes a lot of weird RPGs that they were translated versions.
Okay.
So it's like Japanese games that never came out in the United States until the last so many years.
Interesting.
And so it's kind of cool because they also make Genesis games that never came out in the U.S. Like currently they make them.
So they're translating, 20, 30-year-old games, 30-year-old games at this point.
Exactly.
Wow. That's wild. I mean, I'm glad that somebody's doing that, because that's one of the worst parts of really a lot of these niche hobbies, right? Is that, and I know video games aren't niche hobby, but retro video games definitely are, right? Collecting. So many of these great games that we just never got to experience, right? Because they were in Japanese.
Exactly. And unfortunately, I do not read Japanese.
Yeah, it is unfortunate because I feel like they still take a little bit more chances with their video games than Americans do. Because
100%.
yeah, you still get some weird stuff in Japanese video games, and now we get those here, but still not on the same timetable. There's like Shining Force. Do you remember Shining Force?
I do. I have all the Shining Force.
You got Shining Force 3?
Yeah.
Do you have all 3 scenarios?
No.
So only scenario 1 was brought to the United States. Scenario 2 and scenario 3 are Japanese only, and it broke my heart when I was, that was Saturn. So
Yeah.
what would that have been like? 95, 96, somewhere in there.
And Saturn games are really expensive right now.
They are. I only got to play the first scenario. I love Shining Force. It's one of my favorite, strategy RPGs, which is one of my favorite genres. And there's 2 more of them out there, and they're fans translated. So you can do, but I would love to be able to just sit down and play Shining Force. Never gonna happen.
Well, I found a bootleg copy, or it's a repro or whatever of Langrisser.
Oh yeah.
For number 2 for Genesis.
Yeah.
And it never came out in the United States for it, so I was like, I'll buy this. It's cool. But I also like finding the weird games like that when you find them. Like,
They brought one of those games over, but they changed it. It was like War Song or something like that.
yeah.
Yeah, and it was on the Genesis, right?
Yeah.
I do love Landgrisser and Grow Lancer and all of that. Like, that's my favorite genre of game.
Oh, we're on the same page. Like,
Yeah.
my favorite game growing up, my cousin had it. We used to sit down and play Dragon Warrior 4
Yeah,
for days.
yeah.
And then when I was in junior high, my best friend and I, Scott, we used to, he would rent it because, again, he had money.
Yeah.
He would rent Earthbound every
Yeah.
day from
Which now is on the Switch store, or the Switch SNES thing. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, it is. And it
Yeah.
also comes in the SNES Classic.
Yeah, yeah. Which is funny because for a long time they kept Earthbound and gave it away, right? You couldn't play it.
You still can't play the first one in the United States.
Mother, right?
Yeah, I have the bootleg copy for Nintendo.
So that's one of those things. It's wild. There's still so many great games out there that we can't play. It's I guess talking about that, what we're going to be talking about to close this out is our top 10 Switch games. And I will tell you, the interview I did before you was the first time I ever did this, where I didn't just do it off the top of my head, because I needed time to prep for that one. This one I didn't even get that opportunity. Adam didn't even tell me what it was until we sat down.
Originally, I was thinking about doing my top 10 favorite cats because I have 11 of them, but I thought that would be mean to one of them.
Yeah, well, and I would not be able to participate in this at all.
And I was also thinking top 10 favorite shirts, but that would require talking about my wife a lot.
Yeah, because your wife makes your shirts.
Just doing this amazing sparkly unicorn shirt
Yeah.
right now.
All right. Yeah, I wore this shirt in honor of Adam, and I've got Hula Girl shorts on because I had to dress up for my guests. So we're gonna go with we'll do our top 10. Adam's actually got them with him. He's gonna tell us why it's in your top 10, and then we'll start 10 and go work our way up to number 1. So I'll let you go first.
Hold on 1 second.
I see some. Be interested to see if we cross over at all here.
They got out of order. Let's bear with me for 1 second. That's how my brain works, otherwise it will not function. Okay. So, number 10.
Alright.
In countdown order fashion
I feel like I should go get mine. So what's your number 10?
is Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion.
Oh, alright.
It's-
Alright. I've never even heard of this. What is this?
It's kind of like an action RPG game.
Okay.
But you're a turnip.
Alright.
I mean, it's stupid. And I bought it for the name alone.
Yeah.
Because that name.
Yeah, that's incredible. Turnip Boy commits tax evasion.
Yeah, and I mean, you can see, most of the games I picked are like 16-bit style graphics
Yeah.
where it's like, it's fun. So that is number 1. There's no big explanation for it. It's just amazingly done.
Yeah, how could you not pick it with that name? So let me think. If I was going to go with my 10, I would go with, I downloaded this game. This is cheating because it's a board game, but I play it a lot when I was flying. It's Sagrada, so it's a dice drafting game. I play it solo. I go through the challenge modes. I love the board game, but it's just something really satisfying about the implementation of that game. So for me, I can't show it. I'm not like Adam. I don't have it. We have to take pictures of all these and post them when we do them. But so my number 10 is Sagrada. All right. So what's number 9?
So number 9, this is a remake, but it was just something that I love. It's
yeah.
games. So Tony Hawk 1 and 2 on one game for the Switch. I mean, you can't go wrong.
Yeah.
I did learn that one of the people who basically fests and helps run Fest. Do you know about Steve?
I don't.
He is the number 1 Tony Hawk player in the world.
Oh my goodness.
And he's the guy who makes the Fest app.
Oh, okay, cool.
So, I don't know him very well. I've only met him once or twice, but I was stoked to hear that. I was so excited for him. It was amazing. It was something that was great. So Tony Hawk 1 and 2, collected thing. It was just, I remember in the 90s when all my friends had it on PlayStation.
Yeah, that game kind of helped take something that probably at that point you also loved and mainstream it in a way, right? Like, skateboarding wasn't cool when we were in high school and middle school, and punk rock was, kind of accepted.
Loosely.
Yeah, Green Day was fine, their Offspring was fine, the Bad Religion, maybe not so much, right? They were on MTV, but they weren't cool.
Yeah, it's like Rancid was known, but not
Yeah.
liked.
But then that game came out, and all of a sudden, everybody was playing a skateboarding game and listening to punk rock. It was a cultural phenomenon, right?
100%.
So for me, my number 9 is something that I liked playing it. I beat it pretty thoroughly on my Xbox, and then it came out on the Switch, and it wasn't quite as good because it was a graphical powerhouse. It's not Skyrim, I will tell you that. But it's such a good game. It's one of the best role-playing games I've ever played. It was made by a Polish company, and it's super popular now. It's The Witcher 3.
Oh, yeah.
like wow, what a great game. The only thing that wouldn't make me just keeping it from being higher is it's not switching. Oh, that's right.
No, it's not the best system for it. I bought it on the Switch as well.
Yeah.
It's not like.
But I love that game. So I sunk some time into it even on my Switch because it's just such a good game. And Gwent is great on the Switch.
No, I own that one. Didn't make my top 10.
Yeah, it's fair. That's fair because it's not a great Switch game. It's just a great game.
Exactly. Next up is a different RPG, a different
Yeah,
game.
yeah.
Undertale, because it is one of the weirdest slash. It's simple,
Yes.
but it's weird,
Yeah.
and I like 16-bit and like graphics
Yeah.
animation, and I thought the way this thing was made was phenomenal. So it's just it's a game I tell everyone to check out.
The first time I played that, I've never played it on the Switch. I played it on PC.
Yeah.
And the first time I played Undertale, I accidentally, I didn't realize the mother that calls you on the phone. Like I didn't realize that there was a way to win that fight without killing her. And I kept trying not to, and then I accidentally killed her. And I got so frustrated with myself I quit playing the game. So I was like, I wanted to do this the clean way, because it's a game where you don't have to kill people.
Exactly.
Um,
And I love that about it. It's wholesome.
It is. It is a very unique game. My number 8 is something also the reason this isn't higher on the Switch is a much better Switch game is I sunk way more time into this on Xbox than I've done on Switch. I've only done one farm, but it is the best farming simulator I think of all time. It's really great. I'm sure you already know what I'm talking about. The Stardew Valley, which is just it's a great game. It works great on the Switch. It's perfect for picking up and playing just doing a day. Man, has there ever been a better game where it's just one more turn, just one more turn?
Well, and it could also be like I like the dungeon aspect of
Yeah.
it. It's like you don't have to do farming if you don't
Yeah.
have to.
It's so adaptable. There's multiple paths. The relationships you develop, different farms you can do. You can go through a few years with it and let it go, or you can stick with it forever. It's just a really cool game. So
Plus, that game reminds me of Penny.
of Kenny.
Penny loves that game.
Oh yeah, Kensington. Yeah, Kenny does love that game. They're well, I'll tell them to watch. So watch this, Kenny. Hi. Hope you're doing well in Pittsburgh. So my number 8 is Stardew Valley.
Sweet. I mean, like I said, that's in my list as well.
Yeah.
We're not quite there yet.
Yeah.
So number 7 is they did a new Toe Jam and Earl game,
Yeah.
and Toe Jam and Earl it was again. I never had a Genesis growing up, but it was like if I went to my friend's house, this is what I wanted to play.
Yeah.
And it was just one of the weirder. I mean, kind of open world, kind of platformy.
Yeah.
Kind of. I don't even know. It's just weird, and I tried to get Taylor to play it. She hated it, but more for me.
I've never played that. Because the Toe Jam and Earls, I never knew what I was doing. And I played it on the Genesis. I played both of them, and I could never quite figure it out.
Like parts of a rocket ship. So you
I
go and play
understand
a
that
Volcatron.
now, but when I was, a small child, that game never made sense to me. It is a very weird game. I'm glad it still exists. It's such a 90s.
Yeah, I mean,
so 90s.
It's the font on it alone.
Yes,
Like,
yes. It's very like Rugrats and like that, it's Ren and Stimpy, that Nintendo manic energy very much exists in Toe Jam.
Exactly.
And it does have a great soundtrack. I have not played that one, but the 1 and 2 had an awesome soundtrack. So my number 7, right? That's 1 and 7. Is actually 4 games, but they're all essentially the same thing. Baldur's Gate, Baldur's Gate 2, Planescape Tournament, and Neverwinter Nights. The D&D collection that you can play on your Switch. It actually works really well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a fun way for me to get to play those games again. And I play it docked, but it's not really great on docked, I will say. But docked, it's awesome. I don't know if you played them.
I have. I own them too.
Yeah.
Have you, I mean, I think I have like 350 Switch games now.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's a bad habit. The pandemic made it so I was buying one every couple days on Amazon.
Yeah.
Or a handful of like the limited run sites, so it's limited run fan gamer, I mean stuff like that. Just
Yeah.
all the different ones. Have you tried Divinity 2?
Maybe.
It's like it's like
maybe.
it's very similar.
Yes,
to gameplay.
it's awesome. It might talk about that later.
Okay. That's what I say. If you like that, that's what I strongly recommend. That's also not quite making my top 10, but that was very close.
I love that game. So yes,
Okay.
I have played it.
Just making sure.
So now we're at 6.
6.
Yeah.
So I'll go back to the same one Ricky said earlier. Stardew Valley came out for the Switch physically. I didn't buy it. I never played it until I could get it physically for the Switch.
Okay.
So I bought this. I bought the deluxe version because I'd seen it played before and I thought it was amazing looking. And then I bought the giant guide to go with it because again, it's one of the indie companies Fangamer made it, and so their big box sets are very comprehensive and have a lot of interesting things in them. So it was like it had a little farm stand thing for it. It was all like burned wood. And all fit into place. It was just like very intensely detailed, you know. So I was excited to support them and buy it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So yeah, again, farming simulator.
Yeah, it's a great. Like I don't. Everything about that game is awesome. It is. It revolutionized as a genre, and now there's people cloning it left and right. So yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. So for my number 6. I'm gonna pick a game that was a sequel to a game I never played before. It is a very it's cool style, very fun gameplay. It's a turn-based RPG. Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It was, I think, a lot of Nintendo games, especially like first-party games or exclusives, are very same, right? Like it's the same game, just in a new generation.
The Final Fantasy.
Yeah, yeah. But Xenoblade Chronicles was something new and fresh, and just the way the gameplay worked, the diving, it felt like a callback to that, you know, late 90s RPG, modernized without being repetitive or you know, drug to the ground like a lot of Square Enix games are. Yeah, Xenoblade Chronicles, I don't know if you played it. I love that game. It was,
I've played it a little bit. I have to dig back in. I have it, as you know.
yeah.
At most, I'm not going to say most, but I have quite a few.
Yeah. There's a little mini game in there too that was just fun. It was just a fun game. It was a fun game. I was surprised. I didn't expect to like that game, and then I played it nonstop for months. So Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is my number 6. So now we're in the top half. Our top five Switch games.
See, in this one, it's funny that you'd say you mentioned Square Enix right now because
Yeah.
this is the first Square game that I brought up. It's a remake, but
Oh,
it's a
yeah.
collection of Mana.
Yeah.
Because Secret of Mana is one of my favorite Super Nintendo games of all time, and since we're going for Switch, I thought I would dig back in. Actually, I just started playing it 2 days ago. maybe?
Okay.
So I'm on my first playthrough on the Switch.
That's Secret of Mana.
Yes. So this one includes Final Fantasy Adventure, Secret of Mana, and Trials of Mana.
Okay.
But there's also Trials of Mana game, which is like a review version, and then there's a new Mana game that came out this year as well, or last year.
I've only played Secret of Mana, but that is a great game. That I remember how cool it was to be able to plug in the second controller and get to play with my friends on that game.
That's it. And 1, 2, 3.
Yeah,
Three
yeah.
players.
3 players. What a weird number, right? So my number 5, we actually talked about already. It's a great game. It suffers a little bit on the system, I will say. But it is such a good game that I bought it again for the Switch to play with my friends Connor and Jamil because it is a turn-based RPG that you can play with up to 4 people, I believe. And that's Divinity 2: Original Sin. This is a great game. I love the Divinity games. They did Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh, sweet.
which is not out yet, or it's like an early release, I think, or it might actually be out. But I'm looking forward to playing that. But yeah, Divinity 2. It's like a puzzle. You got to walk in and figure out how to solve each room, and the fact that you can split your party and go in different directions, and you're just existing in this world, and one person can be a good person, and one person can be a bad person, and that just you can do that. It's a cool game. I love Divinity 2. So
yeah, I like it a lot. It's not, like you said, not the best Switch port, but it is.
that's if it was, it would be probably higher up. So
Exactly. So this would be my first beat 'em up game.
okay.
I loved the first one when I was younger.
Oh yeah.
And I bought the version of this from Asia because the limited run version was selling for $200 now.
Oh boy.
But I ended up getting a copy for a much better deal.
All right.
But River City Girls, it's the first River City Ransom was amazing
Yeah.
for Nintendo.
Yeah.
And in River City Ransom, the girlfriends are kidnapped.
Okay.
So in this one, the boyfriends are kidnapped. And you play as the girlfriends trying to fight through and save them.
All right.
And it turns out that they weren't really kidnapped, and they don't. So the twist in
Yeah.
this game is when you beat it finally, you get to a point where they weren't really kidnapped, and the boyfriends are like, "What are you talking about? Why are you looking for us? We're fine."
Yeah.
So it was a really weird like.
That is weird. That is very weird. I've never played that game. I was very interested in it. Like I saw it, and cause I think it was on Xbox Game Pass for a while, and I looked at it, and I was just like, you know what, I'm not ever gonna have time to play this, so I didn't. And now I kind of want to, so I'll see if I can track that down to play it. Or just borrow it.
I recommend it. It's fucking awesome.
So I gotta think. I guess I'm trying to think of how to order. I know what my top 3 are because they're the ones I've played the most. I guess actually this is. I got 2 that I'm thinking about for this because I'm doing this off the top of my head. But I think the game that probably I had the most fun with, even though it was not originally a Switch game, it was a Wii U game. But it's one of those, Nintendo puts out a lot of the same games over and over again, but this one's always consistently fun to me. And it's Mario Kart. The Mario Kart for the Switch came with all the extra add-ons to it. And it's just something about anybody can play Mario Kart. And when I got it, I was thinking about it, it was either Bomberman or Mario Kart, and I was like, which one did I have more fun with? And I was going back and forth between this. I think I like Bomberman a little bit more, but part of video gaming is the experience, right?
Yeah, the fun with friends.
Yeah, and being able to play with so many people, and everybody being able to just sit around, it really brings back to what, consoles were really about, playing with your friends on the same screen. So for me, it's going to be Mario Kart 8 for the Switch. So.
Have you downloaded the extra tracks?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the next batch because the first 2 were great, but it's just reissue kind of tracks. I'm still excited with the reviews. No, Mario Kart's amazing.
Yeah, it's a great game. So.
I tried to avoid the bigger, like the more the bigger titles or more like I didn't put Breath of the Wild there, for instance.
I didn't either.
I mean,
Breath of the
I
Wild
love
is I like Horizon Zero Dawn way better. They're similar games in a lot of ways, but I played Horizon Zero Dawn. And I'm like, wow, this is great. That was more my style. That kind of more.
I understand.
Yeah.
Well, so the next one I had, number 3. Again, this is the only other one I made that was like a collection that was put into a thing as a reissue from Square actually as well. My favorite role-playing games of all time, as I said earlier, is the Dragon War. Dragon War used to be, but now it's Dragon Quest. There's always Dragon Quest in Japan. I think.
Yeah.
So this game has the first 3 on it.
Okay.
And even though number 4 was my favorite game of all time growing up, you can't beat having all of them in one area. And it's like
Akira Toriyama art. I love Dragon Ball Z, and I love his art style.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the funny thing about it is, clearly the I guess it's 8-bit. The 8-bit version, not necessarily his art, because it's.
Yeah, not the actual game, but the manual, the artwork, yeah.
But I don't know if you ever played these or not.
I have, yeah. I played Dragon Warrior, yeah.
Well, the first one was not as good.
Yeah.
Because you don't have there's no party. It's just you walking around. Like,
yeah.
Where 2 and 3 and then 4 you have a party.
I remember NES Dragon Warrior, like Final Fantasy. I remember those games.
Yeah.
They were very frustrating because you had to do a lot of grinding.
All grinding.
Something I'm so glad they got away from. In fact, my number 3 is a callback to slightly later era of RPG. And this company, it's a Square Enix game, but it was, I feel like around Final Fantasy VII, that company really lost their way. They became more about cinematics, they became more about, convoluted stories and less about making a fun game. But then they made Octopath Traveler. And it was everything I loved about like Final Fantasy III in a video game. The way, you could, you had your 8 different characters and they all were following their own story, but they kind of intersected, and who did you want to use? And then I've beaten it with 4 characters. So I can go back and play this game, and I have 4 other characters that I have to go on a completely different adventure with. I haven't done that yet. But the fact that I can and get to experience the game in a whole new way, it was fresh, it was exciting, with retro graphics and I don't know, I just love Octopath. It was very cool. I was very excited by it.
That one was a hard one to not put in my top 10.
Yeah.
And I think the only reason I didn't is because I haven't beat it yet, and I haven't dedicated the time to it, but I need to.
Yeah, my number 1 I actually haven't beaten yet, which I know is kind of wild, but I love it so much, and it came out recently, so.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So number 2, back into the farm simulator
Yeah.
games. This one I think does it better than Stardew.
Okay.
It's Littlewood.
Oh, I've not heard of this.
Littlewood is very similar to Stardew Valley actually.
Okay.
But it's slightly different, and so the interesting thing about this is there's a wizard, like there's a bad evil lizard person,
Mm-hmm.
but both he and your character lose their memories, and you're building this town up from scratch. So
Huh.
this one's like building a town in addition to farm.
Okay.
It's but
I do like that.
and so
That sounds very appealing.
and so but the bad wizard comes and lives in your town, and you guys can become friends, and it's kind of rad because like basically they introduce you to different people throughout the game, and once you meet them, they'll then show up in your town and be like, hey, you told us about this town, we want to live here, can you build us a house? And then you have to go get the stuff to build a house.
Yeah.
And it's pretty rad.
That sounds awesome. I actually really like that a lot. And I'm gonna throw out my honorable mention that I only didn't put on here because I should have. But you made me think of it. That made me think of when you were talking about this completely different game. But Civ 6 is one that was going to be on my list, but it's not. And I love that game, and I played it into the dirt, but it was such a bad version on the Switch. With none of the DLC. So I think the DLC's out there for it now, and if I got that, it probably ranked.
It might help it a little bit better.
But Littlewood, I was just thinking, I was like, oh, I really love this. Looks really interesting.
And it's also made by Super Rare, which it's like Super Rare limited run. What's the other one? Fan Gamer.
Yeah.
I try to buy all the indie games when
Yeah.
I can, so it's like this one. It's I don't know how expensive it is now, but like for a while it was like close to $100. But you can download it.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of like I'm.
Is it so? It's on the store.
I think so.
Okay.
But
I'll check that out.
I'm weird about things, and I always want to have the physical copy of things.
Yeah.
Because I know eventually what'll happen is they'll remove the store, and then you have zero access to all these games you love.
Yeah. I mean, it'll just go offline. Yeah. Well, my number 2 is a Nintendo property. It is literally the only Nintendo series that consistently puts out games that I like. Does fall into the same trap as a lot of the other Nintendo properties, but it's always different enough for me. It's 3 Houses, Fire Emblem 3 Houses. I love strategy RPGs. I love the dating sim aspects in those games. They're really satisfying strategy RPGs. The art is incredible. The gameplay is great. Fire Emblem is one of the lead strategy RPG companies, right? Or series, and it's one of the ones that's endured. But it's not the best Fire Emblem.
No, it's not the best, but I like it.
But it is the game I have played the most of on the Switch. Civ 6 is the game I've played the most of on the Switch. That's kind of. But this is the game I've played the second most on the Switch. And I just really like it.
I think that's why Fire Emblem didn't make my top 10 is because it's not my favorite Fire Emblem game.
What's your favorite?
I that goes back and forth. I like the GD, I like some of the old like
Yeah.
3DS games or DS games. It's
Yeah.
like I haven't played the one for GameCube though because it's really expensive.
Oh, Path of Radiance.
Yeah, I haven't played that one yet.
Yeah.
And I bought the remake of the first one for the Switch, and I was so mad.
Yeah.
I don't know if you bought it.
I do. I have it.
There's no physical game in there.
Yeah. It's just download there.
I mean, because they have like the
Yeah.
fake Nintendo games, all
Yeah.
this other stuff, and it's like you didn't even give me a Switch card.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I still bought it.
Yeah,
But, like,
yeah.
I still got my money.
Yeah. That's not the best Fire. My favorite Fire Emblem game is Awakening.
Okay.
I love that. That is, if you ask me, we got to do my top 10 strategy RPGs. So somebody out there watching this, when you're ready to do an interview with me, if you want my top 10 SRPGs, that's in there. For tactical RPGs. But I love Three Houses. It was, I really like it a lot.
It's great. I mean,
Yeah.
it's another game I dove into. I haven't beat. I think it's like the ADHD in me sometimes.
Sure.
When you have 300 games sitting on your shelf, you're like, oh.
The one thing I will tell you that was hard for me in that one is one of the, like they got a little too far, like Fates, it got a little too more into digging sim and less on the strategy RPG game. And I didn't like Fates as much. Birthright and Conquest, like, I own it. I almost beat one of them, and then I need to go back and finish those. But the one thing I didn't like is you don't get with your person until the very end of the game. And I kept waiting, like I maxed out my hearts, and I was just like, oh, when do I get my my S rank event? Well, I found out at the very end of the game. I was like, well, that's a bummer. I don't get all the benefits of the S rank throughout the game. But all right, bring us home. What's your number one?
So number one is a game I just beat. So
Okay.
it's the most fresh in my memory.
All right.
It is another limited run title. It is Golf Story.
Yeah.
Which is funny because I don't like golf, but the RPG aspect of
Yeah.
it is amazing.
Yeah, I've heard so many good. I'm not playing it.
And
I've heard
it's-
so many good things about it.
The gameplay is like Mario Golf,
Yeah.
but it's something that when you play it, it's just phenomenal. It's a lot of fun. It's the RPG aspect of it's amazing, and then the story behind it's interesting. Like he has I guess they're still married wife that shows up with her new boyfriend person at his golf thing
Oh, wow.
to take his winnings at one of
Yeah.
them.
Wow.
So she gets half,
Okay.
which was
Yeah. What a bummer.
I mean,
man.
a really weird storyline to throw
Yeah,
in, you know,
yeah.
curveball. And it's also like when he first starts off, he's playing with like his old equipment, and he's like thinking about his dad. And it's like this nostalgic thing. So it's like I don't know, just like it. The graphics on it are 16-bit style.
Yeah.
It's something that like I just sunk 30-ish hours into it in the last like month, and it was a lot of fun.
I heard you talk, like, we got together recently and you were talking about that. And
Yeah.
I was like, wow, I heard a lot of good things about it. I'm glad you beat it. I might, like, knock on your door for a little wooden golf story. Like, hey, let me borrow those once I get through my number one. I'm about 75% through it. It is also a callback. It's a modern game. And it's funny. When this game came out, it got compared to Final Fantasy Tactics, Tactics Ogre, which I do see the Tactics Ogre, not so much the Final Fantasy Tactics. But when I played it, it was like they took Shining Force and brought it into a modern era, and that's Triangle Strategy. Terrible name.
Yeah, worst name.
Terrible name. But I think Adrian's sitting on our couch in our production area, I guess, and can remember I started playing this and I was giddy. It was everything I loved about Shining Force. There is a branching storyline in it, there's a really cool mechanic where your party. You don't choose the path the story takes, your party chooses it, and you can persuade them whether or not to go a certain way. Your initiative is based on your speed stat, which is a very Shining Force thing. You level up at 100, which is also a Shining Force thing. You promote your characters, which is also a Shining Force thing. And you're in, there's no multi-classing. You are what you are. And, you tread down this, you choose when to level them up. There's little explorations where you get to explore little towns in between. It's got chapter-based battles. Like literally, it's like they took the Tactics Ogre graphic style and storyline and crossed it with Shining Force 3. And It's the best game I've ever played for the Switch. It's my favorite game. So,
I have it. I haven't dug into it yet.
if you like strategy RPGs, I am a big fan. I don't know if you can tell. So that was our top 10 Switch games. This has been Adam Gecking, and as Adrian would say, if you enjoyed this, like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week. So, thank you. Here we go.